Next one to bang out. If you couldn't tell, these are all things that I would have otherwise talked about in a free-for-all review video like I've been doing recently, but those suck. Those are a bad idea. I don't know why I was doing those in the first place. I watched Free Guy a while ago. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to fucking upload anything. And I had no expectations to see this movie, but my friend didn't want to go see Shang-Chi at the time, so this is what was forced onto me instead. The TLDR for you degenerate shitstains that don't watch videos to the end is that this movie is very cringe, but very fun. And the entire story structure and basically every idea that went into where to take the story next is a complete goddamn mess. And in general, it's a good time. I think this is the type of movie that could be hit or miss for a lot of people, even people who like dumb, ludicrous comedy. Because if you're a stickler for bad writing, and those kinds of writing mistakes derail your attention, this might be a pretty painful experience to endure. Now, I didn't watch Space Jam 2, but I'd imagine this is a kind of similar, based on what I was told about that movie. This is not like Fast and Furious, okay? This isn't a dumb but self-aware romp of ridiculousness that puts a smile on your face the whole time. This is, for all intents and purposes, a horrifically composed movie. The plot is total nonsense. It actually made me feel bad for having, shit on plot holes and other narrative mistakes in other media that I've criticized in the past year or so, because in this I gave up. I gave up trying to keep track of all of the problems in this story and the logic about halfway through. There was just no point, because there's no grounding to it at all. It has no consistency in its rules. It has no understanding of how anything in video games works, or in real life, for that matter. Think of Sword Art Online levels of not making a reality that's even close to making any sense. So it's an extremely contrived story about two boring assholes trying to play a popular video game that's apparently very shallow and shitty, as some characters describe it, despite being popular and successful. And they want to sue the company that made this game because they believe that they stole their technology and ideas and shit to use it, even though none of their ideas actually seem to be implemented into this game, because they created artificial intelligence, but this popular game doesn't actually do anything with the AI that's apparently in it. It just has it inactive, not doing anything. So already the plot is total nonsense. For some fucking reason, they must play the video game itself to search for evidence of this real-life crime, you know? Just like fucking SAO Season 2, right? Dumb, so dumb shit, you know? Because the evidence for this crime is somehow captured and stored within the game world and accessible by players in the game. And it's this is pure SAO, guys. This is without the inherent appeal of dumb, over-the-top death game concepts where people die when they are killed. It's just a world that makes no sense. Character motivations make no sense. The plot also has dozens of elements shoved into it. It is a messy shitstorm. Just arbitrary, out of nowhere plot elements just try to keep the fucking plot on some sort of rails as it's careening over the edge. They're working on a sequel now. The villain loves Ryan Reynolds, I guess. Oh wait, no, there's literally no reason that this would ever make sense in the first place. Somehow people think Blue Shirt Guy is causing the sales for the sequel of the video game to drop. Somehow, no explanation for why this would ever be the case is possibly justified. It's just an excuse for the villain to have a reason to dislike our hero and suddenly retroactively want to kill him. I can't just sit here and list the things that are completely broken in this plot, because that keeps somehow becoming more and more broken at an exponential pace as it keeps going, in terms of characters and why they do the things they do, or what is even physically possible, or how the world is affected by things, or just how anything happens. It's just, don't even try. Don't even fucking try, okay? Like I said, this isn't all just fun, goofy shit like in Fast and Furious, where the plot is constantly ridiculous in a self-aware way. This movie will have parts that are just dumb, but not in an entertaining way, just in a, wow, that's horrible writing kind of way. This movie keeps backsliding between things that are silly and stupid and are fun, and things that are purely dumb as rocks and don't provide entertainment value. They just feel like bad writing in a fucking weird ass story, okay? Or really lazy additions to the plot to justify something in it, justify its existence, so that they can get back to the fun kind of dumb shit that they'd rather be making instead. It does feel like there's a lot of totally amateurish decisions everywhere in the story, unlike Fast and Furious, which feels like the purpose and the vision of the movie is to be silly entertainment, tongue-in-cheek, the entire way through. Now, in other potential red flags for some people, this movie has a lot of cringe-worthy content in it. A lot of bad jokes, bad references. Their perception of reality is really off in the first place, and this starkly affects the message in more serious moments of passion in the film. Like, the game treats someone playing a violent game as a good guy, as this, like, monumental, unheard of thing. It's like that new fucking, like, Coke commercial with the competitive gamers that they just stop playing after they drink a Coke. You know, it's like the majority of players in the real world already roleplay as fairly moral, upstanding people in most video games by default. And this is, like, kind of the whole message of the movie. Again, it's inconsistent with its ideas because the plot is a fucking mess, but, like, it's heavily implied that Free City is a shit video game that just sucks. It's shallow, and, like, the implication is that things that sell really well in video games are just shallow garbage. And that's supposed to be why the game is so huge in this universe, I guess. But then, I think they just added this line in here because someone in the writer's room realized that they didn't have any connection between their AI technology and the game itself, and thus the profits the bad guy would have gotten from their stolen work. There's one single line where they actually say, "Oh, our AI made the world feel more real." And they imply that that's what made the game popular. But again, nothing else in the story implies that at all. And in fact, many things seem to contradict that explicitly, especially since all the AIs are locked and seem to just behave like stereotypical NPCs, which is what the point of the movie was, and the core joke of the movie, whatever. They have internet personality cameos like Jacksepticeye and Pokimane and other ones, which are very cringe because they're just really fucking bad at acting. And that's on top of all their dialogue in the movie being so on the nose. So we're talking like lethal dosages of cringe. There's a lot of weird cringe in the movie. Now, to be fair, I'm working my way through the new Life is Strange game that just came out, and that has so much more cringe energy in it, but it's worth pointing out that if you don't have an iron stomach to deal with some embarrassing ass shit, you might have your fun spoiled in Free Guy. So, as for what's good about the movie, some of the comedy is of course a blast. The two main characters are a lot of fun, but surprisingly enough, I think the villain is just really lackluster and annoying. I'm not used to seeing Taika Waititi's performance feel so unfunny, but here we are. It just feels like his character is just being pointlessly loud and obnoxious, and rarely does his comedy ever land. It just feels like someone trying way too hard with shit material. He also looks awful. His design is nonsense and is completely at odds with everything else in the film. And it just looks lame and stupid, but not in a funny way. And in a way that I just wanted him to get off the screen and go back to Ryan Reynolds. The movie is very inconsistent across the board in every capacity. But luckily enough, it really doesn't have a prominent, dull, or boring segment that might really ruin the experience on a rewatch. It's a pretty good time the whole way through if you're not off-put by the horribly stupid writing and internal logic and misguided ideas and inconsistent messages and fucking DEFCON 4 level cringe. I've seen some reviewers say the last act is a drag of going to different places and side questing and stuff, but I feel like that comes down more to a place of being so fucking stupid that they actually thought literally any part of this plot was worth following in the first place. The whole thing is nonsense. Why would you suddenly take issue with the weird tangents and MacGuffins in the last act, if not for, like, the entire movie? I thought the last act was a blast. The most fun part of the movie, hands down. That's where the energy stays at its peak moving forwards. I think it could have ended on a higher note, but again, it's so obvious that tons of this script and screenwriting was woefully misguided, so we have this kind of wet fart fucking lackluster ending where our big climax as the viewers is watching the secondary main character, the main girl, get romantically together with a character that she has not had a single on-screen, like, romantic chemistry or anything with the entire movie. Obviously, I don't care that the climax wasn't her getting with Guy or some other anything, but, like, since that would have also been really generic and boring unless they did it in, like, a fun, bombastic way. But, like, this other Guy character, the Keys or whatever his name was, fucking, they had no chemistry together. We obviously know that he likes her from the start, but this isn't developed in any way, and it's not like Keys has any of the personality traits Guy has that made her like Guy throughout the movie as we saw them develop and have chemistry. We just end the movie where it expects us to celebrate these two incredibly underdeveloped characters with no on-screen chemistry or no history or moments or anything. It's just a baffling decision and a really weird, like, kind of waste of our time that deflates the ending of the last act, obviously alongside other bafflingly stupid and inconsistent, like the internal inconsistent plot choices and just things that are actual contradictions. But I would definitely watch this again. Unlike with most things that I see, this will either get much harder if I rewatch it, since maybe, like, the plot-focused scenes will be that much more boring and become that much more painful to suffer through on a second watch, or maybe the energy of the whole movie will keep it up regardless, and it will stay fun. Who knows? The action is actually pretty dope most of the time. I really didn't expect this to be, like, an actual Ryan Reynolds action movie, but it kind of is, just with boring, mind-numbingly stupid office scenes every now and again. In terms of disappointments, I think a good stupid movie needs a good, charismatic, stupid villain. But yeah, this villain sucks. He's boring. They keep trying to say that he's smart and dangerous over and over and over, but as far as we ever see or the evidence shows, he makes awful, terrible decisions constantly. He lies to the public in ways that he won't be able to hide. Every decision he makes is stupid. He apparently can't even make a functioning video game by himself. He stole their technology and then he didn't even really use it for anything. He committed a crime and then didn't even bother to profit off of it. He doesn't take advantage of opportunities he has. He just causes more problems for himself by fighting against his own fucking game and fan base. He does not do a single remotely intelligent or sane thing in the movie. His values and decisions just fit the whims of whatever the plot needs him to do to create conflict. And yeah, he just takes up screen time while being annoying without having that much presence. Because he never interacts with Guy. The hero and villain never interacted at any point in the movie. It's because he doesn't go into the game himself, which is weird because he could. They could have just had him go and play the game himself and have that be the climax instead. It would have made just as much sense as everything else in the fucking movie. I liked basically all the characters in the video game, and pretty much everyone outside of the video game in real life has no likability or presence whatsoever. Even Molotov Girl, who is really likable in the video game, the exact same person is just kind of dull and boring outside the game like everyone else. Hell, I even enjoyed the attempts to pull, like, emotions in some parts of the movie, especially near the end. Some stuff was actually kind of wholesome, and not just in a purely memey way. It's weird. So yeah, at the end of the day, I recommend watching this artful piece of cinema. Maybe I'm fucking insane, it's actually awful, and the group setting is one of the reasons why I enjoyed myself, but who knows. But that's my take from watching it once in theaters. I very much enjoyed myself. I laughed more at this than I did at Suicide Squad. So yeah, I think it's not bad. I think it's pretty good.